Oh, you're gonna start the program by making ridiculous
Okay,
statements.
I'll tell you what. I will open it up to the group. Obama, Trump has been around.
You're still living in the past?
No, wait a
less than
minute. Let's
100
finish the
days.
conversation. you just smeared the greatest quarterback of all time, the GOAT. You smeared him. You said he's not going to get the ball to Cooks because he doesn't throw the long ball.
He doesn't throw it well. He has never thrown it particularly well.
Randy Moss set the touchdown record. How many
season touchdown?
Yeah, how many?
Well,
23?
Brady had 45 or 48
Randy
that
Moss
year.
was standing by himself 50 yards downfield.
Well, Brady would throw it and Moss would go get it.
Go get
It was like, go to the telephone pole, I'll throw it to you. That's how the play was.
Yeah,
Moss would put his hand up, he'd take 2 steps, put his hand up, he's open. Throw it. And Brady would throw it 50 yards down the field.
mailbox.
And Moss would go and get it.
Well,
Every time.
None of these guys is Randy Moss.
No, but Cooks,
Speed-wise, Cooks is.
Cooks speed-wise
Cooks is
is.
speed.
He may be speed-wise. He's not
Speed-wise
Randy
he is.
Moss.
Well,
Speed-wise
nobody's
he is.
Randy Moss,
Okay.
and nobody's Tom Brady.
Right.
And Cooks is not going to be getting 50 touchdowns or 20 touchdowns. What was
20
it,
something. 20, I don't know,
23, I think he got.
I know Brady had close to 50 that year.
Yeah,
Not
he had
over.
50.
Yeah.
I think Moss had 20 some odd. Whatever the record. He said there was a running back for the Colts who had the
Marshall
touchdown
Faulk?
record. Huh?
Not Marshall Faulk.
No. It was,
Marshall
it was
Faulk
back
played
in the
for-
60s.
No, he played for the Colts and the Rams.
Oh, he did. That's
Yeah.
right.
Rams.
He made his.
Wait, which one? Which one? Well,
Yeah.
Colts first, then the
Colts
Rams.
first,
right?
first, then
Yeah,
the
he
Rams,
made
yeah.
everything with the Colts, and then he went to the Rams.
But look, nobody's going to score Randy Moss like touchdowns on this team because there's such a variety of receivers that he has to throw to.
Share the wealth.
Again, he threw 50 touchdowns and only 20 some odd to Moss. He always had options.
Well, that's why actually that's what is back to his point there, that if you have a choice, then you win. You're not handicapped.
Yeah, no, obviously if you've got Gronkowski going up the middle and some fast guy going down the right sideline and somebody else standing out in left field saying, hey, if you got nobody else, I'm here.
Who are you going to cover? That's the thing. He knows right off the bat, right before he snaps, who he's going to throw it to.
Yeah.
So you get Gronk, you get Edelman, you get Hogan, now you get Cooks.
Cooks and Amendola and
well,
Mitchell.
I don't think Amendola, is he coming back?
Well, he
Did he
hasn't
sign
restructured yet.
I didn't think
but
right.
He hasn't. He's restructured the last 2 or 3 years,
Right.
so I think he wants to come back.
I think he'd like to. I'm not sure they'll take him. He's got,
Maybe
they
just a
got
kid-
too
They
many
take
other
him back.
people.
Look,
A kick
you watch
returner.
the Super Bowl. How many big catches did the kid make? And the previous Super Bowl
Same thing.
win, same thing. The guy's a clutch receiver. And
I like him. I'm not,
Like
but
him.
there's so many other guys at this point. I'm not quite sure what he would not be a starter without any.
well, he
without
wasn't a
question.
starter. He hasn't been a starter.
No, yeah,
Well,
right,
he
for the
was
last few
whenever
years.
somebody was out.
Yeah,
But-
he was a backup, but he wasn't a starter. Edelman.
But he's a punt returner. He's a
That's
reliable.
what the problem.
He's
Use
a
him and get
reliable
Edelman out of
slot
that
receiver.
slot.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see why would you give the guy up? It doesn't make any. What are you going to do? Put Cyrus Jones in there to catch punts?
No.
I don't think so.
Not after that.
Maybe this year.
But he's still on the team.
Of course
Yeah,
he
he
is.
is.
He was a first-round draft choice, wasn't he?
What does that have to do with?
Oh, that has plenty to
There's
do
a lot
with
to do with it. Plus, he was Belichick's guy. He wanted him. He got him. He brought him here.
Yeah.
Well,
he's not gonna get
he's a
rid of
cornerback, and I haven't
That's
seen
why,
him play
that's-
cornerback yet.
Well, he did play some in the slot.
a little
he
bit.
played in the nickel and dime packages at some point.
Oh, okay.
But the Rowe acquisition is the reason why I think they'll let Butler go. Who did what's his name? Brandon Marshall sign with.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. When you said Butler, I thought we were still talking wide receivers. No, I think they want Butler. Now the question is, do they get Sherman?
No, they're not going to get Sherman.
Well,
They're not gonna-
supposedly that was real.
Yeah, they were talking about it, but they've got Rowe. They picked up Rowe from Philadelphia for a 5th-round draft choice.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've got Gilmore that they overpaid for, but who's 6'1" corner. And the reason you need big cornerbacks now is because of these giant receivers.
Big receivers,
You know, I mean that catch that Julio Jones made in the Super Bowl with that little toe tapping catch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the best receiver in football,
But nobody can defend that. You can't defend that.
You can. It was a perfectly thrown ball,
Right.
but Rowe missed the ball by this
Right.
much.
Yeah.
By this much.
Well, it
So-
happens.
Well, my
No.
point is this: if that guy is that close to Julio Jones and had covered him a lot during the course of the game, and Julio only had 6 catches, I think, That's why I think they think Butler is expendable.
But
He's either
Butler-
going to sign
yeah.
for $3.9 million, or he'll have to sit out.
Well, I'll give you that, but Butler was playing in that game and playing very well.
He's a great
Oh, he's a
cornerback.
great
Okay,
cornerback.
so-
you can leave him by himself. That's his.
Yeah.
That's his niche.
But he's 5'10".
Right.
Right.
You know?
So
But-
you don't put him on a tight end, obviously,
No.
and you don't put him on the #1 receiver. But the other guy, you don't have to.
But you
don't
double
have to
the other guy, and he's okay by himself. That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's what works.
Okay.
But you need to do that. So you have to replace. You can't double two
Right.
guys.
So if you don't have Butler, you got to pick up somebody else because Logan Ryan. I
Logan Ryan signed for
was the
$10 million
guy
a
who-
year. Yeah, he went to the Titans,
Yeah.
I think, didn't he, David?
I think so.
and he was covering the #1 guy with help.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and so was Rowe, and so was Butler, and who was the third cornerback? Rowe, Butler,
Oh,
Ryan, and
know
somebody
you're
else was
thinking
playing
of
the slot.
some guy who everybody was putting down, but I think still on the team.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
It just left my head.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right. As much as I enjoy talking football, we're not here to do that. Donald Trump has been president for somewhat under 100 days. And he was telling everybody, not only when he was on the campaign trail, but after he was elected, first 100 days was going to be amazing. It was going to be transformative. You compare it to Roosevelt, FDR's first 100 days when it was truly transformative. Let's take a look and see how Trump has done based on the FDR
You're
standard.
going to compare Trump to Roosevelt. Did you ever compare Obama to Roosevelt?
No,
I wouldn't.
couldn't
I
do
wouldn't
that.
compare, but
It was transformative.
no,
It
but it
was
is. But
transforming back.
it is transformative in the sense that Trump has changed his view on Putin. Trump has changed his view on Syria. So that's a big game
He's
changer.
even changes his view on healthcare.
And on healthcare, but I mean,
Well, he
that
hasn't
is-
changed his view in healthcare.
No,
We just
but-
don't
but-
see what
yeah,
it is yet. The
we don't
first
know that.
try didn't pass.
But the key thing is, I think on foreign policy, he has reversed his view on NATO, and he
Yeah,
is
I talked
now
about that this
supportive
week.
of that. I think that is going to get us a better presidency of Trump.
NATO has also boosted their payments.
I don't know
That's
whether
helped.
I mean they do talk about how you go from 5% to 6%.
No, it's 2%.
2%, yeah, but
is the
it is
number.
2%, but they want to go to 5%, and some people go to 6%. No, 6% is U.S., I think.
U.S. is doing 6, but again, it's not to NATO. It's just total spending on
Total
defense.
spending, yes.
And some of the countries are doing it, and some aren't. But they're moving in that direction, which is nice.
But
But
there's an
that's,
old
not
joke.
critical.
There's an old joke that's apropos here. A politician dies. He goes up to see St. Peter, and or whomever you choose at the pearly gates, and St. Peter asks him what he did for a living, and lawyer says, "Well, a politician. I was a politician." Said, "Oh, well, great. Well, we have a new program for politicians. You get to make a choice. You can stay here, or you can sample here, and you can sample downstairs."
Yeah.
So the politician says, "Well, great, let me try." And so they shoot him in the elevator downstairs, and he meets Satan. Satan says, "Hey, let me show you to your room." Shows him this beautiful suite. He opens the door. He opens the window. It's a beautiful golf course.
yeah, of
Hey, let's go to lunch. They goes to lunch. So he goes back upstairs, and St. Peter shows him his room, a little room, and opens the window. It's kind of just a green, grassy area. And later on, St. Peter asks him, says, "What's your decision, you know?" The guy says, "Well, look, I compared both, and, I think I like downstairs better." So they shoot him in the elevator. He goes down, he opens the door, and fire and brimstone and, pitchforks and the whole thing. He asks the Satan, he says, "Hey, what's up with this?" And Satan says, "Well, yesterday we were campaigning. Today you're serving." So
that's what we are seeing.
well, that's what happens
what
with
we're
any
seeing.
politician,
But-
any president.
yeah,
he
but-
campaigns on one thing and he becomes pragmatic when he gets in office.
But isn't it a good thing that he has become pragmatic on certain of the issues that face the United States and the world at the moment?
I think every president ends up being pragmatic to some degree. But there are certain things that he's followed through on. For instance, he's followed through on Keystone Pipeline. It took 7 years for Obama to make a non-decision, despite the fact that every other agency underneath him had approved it. Obama denied it. Trump approved it in like 5 days. He's kept his word on ICE. I think criminal aliens are being deported at a higher rate.
May I interrupt?
Go ahead.
The criminal aliens may or may not have been deported, but the people who were basically living a reasonable life, there was this one guy who got dragged out of his house one night. For 17 years he'd been reporting on time, every time. He had a job, paying taxes, blah, 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 blah. They grabbed him. He said, I got to call my lawyer. He said, there's no time. They shipped him down to the border, shoved him across the bridge.
Every deportee has a hearing, so that's nonsense. You know that's law.
Okay.
That's welfare for lawyers. Every deportee has a hearing.
Actually, that's not true.
Yes, sure.
That's
I
not true.
really do.
I think there was another case actually where the guy was reporting to ICE and they just took him right there.
Well,
I don't know what the whole details are.
And being allowed to call your lawyer is kind of part of the deal. If you have a hearing, but there's nobody there to represent you, here's your hearing. By the way, the bus is leaving in 2 seconds. Get the hell on it. That's not a hearing.
Well,
that's not the legal system that we have.
Dwelling on one of the issues that is a consistent mistake for the Democrats.
But
they're tone deaf to what the issue is relative to illegal immigration. And a couple of perfect examples, of course, is sanctuary cities. Well, sanctuary cities are anarchy. It's against the law to be an illegal immigrant. Yet we have all these Democratic mayors who want to invite illegal aliens into their homes and yada, yada, yada. They want to make a sanctuary state. It's illegal. It's anarchy. They take an oath to defend and uphold the laws of their state and their United States. It's against the law.
Understand what a sanctuary city really is. All it is saying they don't use the city's police force to enforce federal laws. The federal could do what they want. If somebody has not committed a crime against the city laws, and they don't ask whether they're illegal or not. That's what a sanctuary city is. That's it.
When they don't assist the federal,
they don't turn them over. They don't report them to ICE.
They don't ask. It's kind of like don't ask, don't tell.
No, it's not don't ask, don't tell.
But that's exactly what it is.
If you're arrested, if you get arrested in Somerville, the way that the mayor has set it up, that he will not ask if they're illegal. So he doesn't care. That's in itself saying sanctuary. That we're not going to report you to we're not going to report you to ICE because you're illegal. Somerville won't do that. But other towns will do that. So that's the difference, right? So we're saying that that sanctuary city and that illegalness of that position shouldn't happen.
But it's not illegal.
It is.
It violates federal law. If you receive federal funds in public safety, that is a requirement of federal law.
To follow those procedures.
No, actually, it's not a requirement.
It is a requirement.
It is not a requirement.
Here is what I'm going to tell you. That whether they receive federal funds or not, isn't it? They are already illegal.
They're already illegal.
So that is what I don't understand. Why? What is the purpose? I know what the purpose of sanctuary city is. I mean, once they are already illegal, so doesn't that mean there is a duty of an elected official to cooperate with whatever?
Well, no, because they're undocumented. They're not illegal. There's a distinction the Democrats want to make.
No, but whether you're a Democrat or Republican, but what I'm saying is, shouldn't it be a common goal that if you have illegal immigration, undocumented, undocumented people walking across, that to have a concerted effort to either get rid of it or
fix it.
Right. I mean, that's what I.
Okay, the fixing people have been trying and been told, no, we get rid of all the illegals, undocumented first, and then we'll fix it.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong to fix. There's nothing wrong with the U.S. Immigration system. We're 300.
You've got to be kidding.
You have to be kidding.
No,
we're 330 million people.
Yeah.
How do you think we got to be 330 million people? Did you think we procreated 330 million people? Or did we have legal immigration of Indians, Vietnamese, Chinese? We have 252 different languages spoken in the nation. Did you think they all got here illegally? Or were they part of an illegal immigration system?
Actually, until 1922, the rules were totally different. My grandparents, possibly yours, came in under a totally different set of rules. And in 1922, they specifically said, we don't want 500 languages or 400 or even 20 languages spoken here. We want Northern European people. And they tried the best to make it so that you want to come from England? Come on ahead. We don't care who the hell you are. You want to come from Italy, or you want to come from
Come on, you're going back 100 years.
No,
Come on.
No, but that's how we got where we're at.
No, that's
No,
not.
no.
Come
Yes,
on,
it is.
330. That's 100 million people ago. 1922.
But the key thing still is that the immigration system has worked over the years.
Worked in what regard?
Oh, work means whatever the laws were, whether it was Chinese exclusion or Southern European exclusion,
Yeah.
or then open up the borders according to the quota system for each country.
Okay.
But
It
within
worked.
those parameters, the immigration laws have worked.
But let's look at the farms because it's the easiest example. Our farms, the people who pick our crops so that we get to have salad and meat and all the other nice things that we get to eat, are operated
Migrant
using
workers.
migrant workers who are in large measure undocumented
No, but
and
they-
have been. A perfect example, in Alabama about 5 years ago, they passed a law saying, which basically got rid of all the undocumented people. They're going to knock on doors and stop people on the street. The undocumented disappeared. The vegetables in the fields were rotting, so they put out a call, because Americans should be able to do this work. A few Americans showed up. They were incapable of doing the job. You know what? The law was never enforced again, and we're back to the way things were. That's our immigration system.
And it's
in
still not
operation.
being enforced, and it's unlikely to be enforced.
Right,
That-
because
But that
it's-
is not the issue.
Yes,
the
it
issue
is.
right
That's
no,
the
no,
immigration
it's not the
system.
issue. The issue right now, 22% of the federal prisons are occupied by illegal aliens. 22%. Okay?
What do you mean 22%?
22% of the total population of U.S. prisons, federal prisons,
So
are
why are
illegal
they
aliens.
not being taken away then?
Well, here's the other thing. Now the Democrats want to sponsor legislation to prevent ICE from being at the courthouse. ICE won't be able to go to any courthouses.
No,
now,
but that's-
where are you likely to pick up criminal, illegal aliens?
But you said that there are 22% of the U.S. prison population is undocumented.
Yeah.
Why are they not taking those people?
Well,
and
because
put
they
them
got
on
to
the bus?
finish their term.
Why?
They got to. Well, because because what will happen is you release them back into their home country, and they'll be out of prison.
No, but they can have an agreement with those countries. I mean,
Do they have the capability of putting them into a prison?
well, the
They have
U.S.
prisons
can.
there, too.
They have prisons
It'd
there
be a
too.
lot
But who
cheaper
knows?
to us
It will
build
be cheap.
prisons in Guatemala
Or
and
Mexico.
send people there than keep them here. Think of it.
I mean, why
Well,
can't
Here's
we
the
do that?
solution to the
Why
problem.
can't we do
okay?
that?
How dare the president of Mexico or the prime minister of Canada lecture the United States on immigration, when if you look at either of those two countries' immigration laws, they're vastly more strict than ours.
But-
if you come into Mexico, you deported immediately. All of these Hollywood actors that were going to leave if Trump got elected, we're going to go to Canada. Take a look at the Canadian application. If you don't have a net worth, if you don't have a job, Canada doesn't want you.
By the way, the lectures are not on immigration. The lectures are on amnesty, which is a totally not an amnesty, on refugee, which is a totally different situation.
No, we are not talking about refugees.
But that's what the lecturing is about. If you want to,
the lecturing,
yeah,
oh.
No,
because the
it's not.
Canadians aren't talking about the immigration policy of the
They're
United
talking about
States. They don't
refugees.
care.
Well, let the Canadians take the refugees.
They are taking a hell of a lot more than
they
we
are.
are.
They are like hell.
Yes, they
They
are.
are like hell.
But I don't know
They're
how
take-
many. I don't know how
They're
many.
taking
but they are.
60,000 Syrians.
Okay.
And while we're on the subject,
By the way,
okay,
I
while we're
don't
on the
think
subject,
we were planning on taking 100,000 over 10 years. So
While we're on the
60,000
subject.
is pretty good. Yeah.
49 countries
Yeah.
have Islamic majorities.
Yeah.
49 countries.
Yeah.
How many of them are taking Syrian refugees?
I know a fair number that are taking a lot. The
Okay,
ones that are
no,
close.
you don't. No, you don't. No,
Yes,
they're
you
out.
do.
They're out like hell.
Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon. Try those.
But
and
why-
they happen
why-
to be surrounded.
well,
Iraq
Saudi
is
Arabia
the ones
is
to go to.
Saudi Arabia is
Yeah.
the one who's supporting this war against the Allies,
I-
against Iran against Iran and Assad. Saudi Arabia has said, no, we don't want any Syrian refugees, despite the fact they have air-conditioned housing for 3 million people. They don't want any Syrian refugees. And what did they say exactly? Why? Because they're terrorists.
I know. I seem to support Phil all the time. looks like I know, because I also think that you have 22 Arab countries.
No, you don't have 22 Arab countries.
Yes, small.
There's 49. There's 49 Islamic majority countries.
22 of them are Arab.
Arab countries. That's what I think.
Yeah, I
But
think 22 of them are.
Let me put it this way.
Okay.
Arab countries around Syria,
Yeah.
they should have taken majority of Syrian refugees.
They did.
No, but
No,
Saudi
they didn't.
Arabia,
They did.
Saudi Arabia,
Turkey has
Lebanon,
Saudi Arabia
Lebanon,
is not around.
No, but it's still
Syria.
it's a Muslim majority country. Saudi
but
Arabia,
a lot of
Lebanon,
Lebanon,
is
you have Indonesia.
Indonesia
And
is
you have
nowhere
Malaysia.
near it.
No, but what I'm saying is that they are
the largest Islamic
sympathetic.
population in the
They are
world.
What does that have to
sympathizers.
do with the tax and raisins? Are you a refugee because you're a Sunni
you have Iran.
or
No,
a
you have
Shiite or a
Iran.
Christian?
Why is it our
or a Jew?
responsibility? We're
look
not
at-
engaged in war in Syria. We did not create the civil war there.
But one thing is that you have to add to your point. Sorry about that.
No, you don't have to be with him on.
No,
He's
but
so
what
far out of the
but
mainstream.
What
Come
I'm
on
saying,
over with us.
what I'm saying is, look, Saudi Arabia is bombing Yemen.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, killing people there.
yeah.
Now nobody is telling Saudi Arabian people, why are you doing this?
Yes,
mean,
they
they're-
are.
No,
Among other things, America is asking the question.
but
They-
we are supplying Saudi Arabia money.
All the weapons.
All this stuff, and I mean, that's what I don't understand. Now the other thing is, although I support what Trump is trying to flip about Syria, but I still don't understand. Even from the beginning, I didn't understand why is America hell bent to get rid of Assad from the beginning itself.
What do you mean? Why?
Well,
why
that was
weren't
the
they?
red line. That was the red line
Yes,
that
but-
Obama
Nothing to
had.
do with the red
Well,
line. That had to do with the Arab Spring.
I mean,
Here is a guy that we have
red
been
line was
fighting with
entirely different.
basically for 50 years, he and his family.
We talked
And not because he's Islamic and not because he's Alawite, because he is aligned with a group that's trying to eliminate Israel. So we've been fighting with him for a long time. And that's now the population, which was more or less supportive of him up until, what, 5 years ago,
5 years,
6 years
yeah.
ago, has now begun to turn against him. And he is responding in a brutal way, and in our horribly obnoxious American idea that people should be treated decently, and we're a little bit remembering what we didn't do during the Holocaust and we didn't do in Rwanda, we are now saying, okay, you can't do that to human beings.
That's what the red line was about. The red
Well,
line was about
yes.
the use of sarin gas,
Yes.
of which, by the way, he drew the line and then did nothing. And Samantha Power and John Kerry and Obama assured us, through Russia cooperation, that all of the chemical weapons have been removed from
Russia
Syria,
was
which is a lie.
told us.
We know.
Yeah,
Russia
it's
told
very
us,
difficult to
and
see what has
if they
happened.
lied to us, okay, they lied to us, and that's not good. But Russia told us that we didn't. We had a deal, and by the way, it held for a number of years.
It didn't hold.
Yes,
He's
it did.
He just hasn't used them.
Well, that's the key. They didn't care that he had them before the red line. They cared that he used them, and when he used them, they were going to go in and probably do something equally insignificant as to what was done by Trump. And Russia said, come on, we don't want this to get out of hand. We will take care of it.
Insignificant. Yet most of the world leaders have applauded Trump for the action that he took. You want to talk about the fact that the airfield might be used again? Well, the fact of the matter is, what good is an airfield if your weapons have been destroyed?
But
If
the
your
weapons
aircraft,
weren't.
his aircraft has
there was
been
a few
destroyed.
aircraft that were destroyed. I accept that they were, but obviously not all of them, because they flew missions the next day.
Yeah, it is.
And by the way, I don't
Well, you think they got
that-
one airfield in the country?
No, but
No,
it's,
but
it's
on
same,
that
same
airfield.
same airfield.
Exactly.
It's very difficult to see actually how much damage was done.
Right.
But it was kind of a signal thing rather
Right.
than
And by the way,
than
that may have
actually
been enough.
damaging so much.
Well,
In
look,
the
they
same
launched
way-
90
yeah.
Tomahawk missiles. Okay, so don't tell me the damage wasn't done.
By the way,
I'm-
I remember hearing, and maybe you guys have heard it a little better than I did because I sort of heard it in passing. There were 29 strikes in the airfield out of 68 some odd Tomahawk missiles. I'm curious as to what happened to the rest of them. But the fact of the matter is, if you accept, if Assad says, okay, this guy's serious, I'm not going to do this again, then it worked. If when Obama said, we're going to do nasty things to you, and Assad said, hey, I'll give the stuff to the Russians, they'll take care of it, and I won't, obviously I won't use it again, that worked, at
It
least
didn't
for
work.
a couple of years.
Don't be
But
insane.
during-
We have
it
proof
worked
that it
for-
didn't
No, but
work.
It
during
worked
that
then
time-
for a couple of
during that
years,
time.
and we'll find out in about 2 to 3 years whether it worked this time.
Well, this
Well,
time,
it's
see-
not going to last that long. It's not going to last that long.
How do you know?
And-
Because
don't-
if he does
let's not
something
bring in-
again, it's got like you said.
But Assad didn't do anything like that when Obama was president after the first time.
But that's
After
because he
the
not-
first
spoke to
time?
him sharply.
no, but, no.
Does it matter if it works?
It
but-
didn't work.
didn't
But
work.
it
Just
did
it
work.
again.
A couple
No,
of
it did.
years,
For-
he didn't use it.
You do have to give credit to
Yeah.
to what Bob is saying, that for a couple of years, Assad did not. We don't know that Assad did not use the chemical weapons.
Yeah.
But now that he has used it, we bombed the airfield. Now you have to basically keep the pressure on.
Yeah, but if we had done it the first time,
Well,
He
that's
wouldn't- he wouldn't use it again.
How do you know that?
I think
he
that's-
didn't
No,
use it
I
for
think
2 or
that's-
3
we didn't
years.
bomb-
that is
we
getting
didn't
into
bomb the aircraft.
speculation.
right.
That's
And
getting
you're
into
way off
speculation.
base when you're talking about Israel being part of the reason for this war. That has nothing to do with
No,
it.
this war, no. But why we were angry at Assad from way back. Saying Assad is a bad person is not new.
We haven't been angry at Assad.
Yes, we
Yes.
have.
No, we haven't. They
Yes.
signed. Look, they've been peace between Egypt and Syria for what, 35 years? We haven't been angry at Assad. Assad has been in the
Peace
Soviet
with-
Union. He's been in the Soviet sphere of influence. We don't call him anymore. In the Russian sphere of influence since well before the 6-Day War. The Syrians have always been there. The reason that there's civil war there now is because Assad is a minority government associated with the Shiites in Iran, and the rest of Syria is Sunni.
Okay,
All of the
understand
Emirates,
something.
all of the Gulf states, the Saudi Arabians are all Sunnis.
Do you
They are
realize
after Assad.
that Assad is a Ba'athist, which is a secular political party? It is not.
He's an
So-
Alawite. He's
What does it have
associated
to
with
do
the
with
Shia
anything?
because the Shia and the Sunni have been killing each other for 100
Well,
years.
in
that
Syria,
is-
they
that
were
is
not.
No, that's exactly the problem which we should understand. That given that he's a minority, he is a minority person himself. He is able to protect all the other minorities, and he's ruling on a majority population that is Sunni.
And he
Now,
wasn't protected.
Yeah, no, but the
Well,
key
he
thing
was.
is Saudi Arabia, who are Sunni and Wahhabi, they do not like any of those people to rule. They do not. These same Wahhabis, they don't like Iran because they don't want influence of Iran. Now, what has happened in this dynamic is that this fellow Assad has joined hands with the Iranians.
Yeah, sure.
Now, that is where the problem is. It's not just the Arab Spring. It is a problem that Middle East dynamic between Sunni, Shia, and here you have this not even actually Shia by definition, but Alawite.
But
So
it's
he
part
has
of
to
the
be gotten-
overall problem in the region. Tunisia's in flames. Yemen's in flames. Libya's in flames. Syria's in flames. Iraq is in flames. Afghanistan is in
no,
flames.
but forget Afghanistan for a moment. Just the Middle East area is in flames because you have Wahhabis, Sunnis. They do not want Iran, who is Shia, and they are gaining
Influence in the region, sure.
They
Yeah.
do not want any of those. Now, what is happening is Iran is funding any opposition that can come up against Wahhabis. Any opposition that can not forget Wahhabis at the moment,
Right.
Sunnis. So they want to get handle on all fronts. They want to get a handle in Syria. They want to get a handle in Lebanon. So now
Yemen.
Yemen. Now that is why you have this our friend, the Sunni Saudis, they are bombing everybody, and they are providing advice. I'm so sad to hear this, to say this. They're providing advice to our government to get rid of all these people. But that is what we need to be savvy to understand what the actual kick is.
Yeah, so stay out of there.
Right.
Well,
That's what
stay
I was
out of
gonna
it.
say.
I would say that.
You
Stay
can
out
say
of
stay
Syria.
out of there,
But we
and that's
cannot, but
a
that's the
valid
problem.
thing. But if you say you cannot treat human beings a certain way, and evidently Trump saw some pictures and had a transformation.
I like that. I mean, he has changed that way, and that's why I think he has done something good.
Well, these guys
Well, that
wouldn't
was
think it
American
was
policy.
good
Yes.
because
It was
the
American
moment,
policy.
Yes.
but the moment you say that's a bad thing, then you have to say, do I care that's a bad thing? Because if I do, I got to do something about it.
Well, he did something about it.
And we'll find out in a year or two whether it was successful or not. Because Obama did something about his thing, and for a year or two, the guy didn't do that.
I think
The Russians played Obama for a fool for 8 years. They invaded Crimea without a single problem, okay, without, a few sanctions, etc. Except during that period of time, they managed to buy 20% of our uranium production. So much for those sanctions. They've
By the
had
way,
their
I don't
way
think
in
that
Syria.
was in the same period, but that's okay.
Yes, it was in the
I
same
don't think
period.
it was.
It was during Hillary Clinton's service as the Secretary of
The
State.
Crimean situation, I think, happened a little bit after that purchase, time-wise. You could check it online
Okay,
if you
all
want.
right, I'll give you that.
Okay,
within a
so
period of
therefore
time.
you can't blame, say that Obama did nothing to Crimea and he allowed the uranium if it happened before.
Well, that's one instance. That's one
Well,
instance.
it's an incorrect example. Try.
All right,
what-
okay,
what-
I'll
what-
give you that. But
but-
nevertheless,
Yes, but what is going to what I think is also good that he has changed his stance about Putin. So I'm hoping that he's going to keep that in mind vis-a-vis Syria.
well, that's the Democratic canard here. That's foolishness,
What?
which they've been beating this drum for 4 months
No, no,
about
but no,
somehow
I wouldn't go there. What I was trying to
Trump
say
is linked with
no,
with Putin.
forget the link. What I'm saying is he has changed his mind about Putin dramatically
After
after
the Syria
He
gas
has
attack.
Explicitly, what
'Cause he
I'm
wants
trying
to
say,
hear from them
he has
that they had nothing to do with it.
said that they got to deal with Putin. What Putin is trying to do is not right. We got to do something. So that's something I'm hoping they're brewing something in their heads and will come to a conclusion to deal with something concrete.
Well, I think the
with
facts
Putin.
were that they were supposed to have taken care of this, and they didn't. So that was a concrete event that happened that Trump responded to in a decisive manner, I might add. It took him 2-3 days to take
By
care
the way,
of it.
let's get away from decisive. Decisive is you make something a real punishment and not a, kind of thing. If it's effective, then I applaud it. If it's not effective, then I say you should have done something else.
Here's decisive.
There's a message sent.
Yeah.
Right. There's
Okay.
a message sent that happens right now. And something happened, a few years ago, kind of around his first couple days in office, when Reagan was in office, and they bombed Libya, right? Remember that?
Yeah,
No, I
yeah,
actually
yeah,
don't remember
Gaddafi.
that, but that's
Gaddafi's
okay.
house all of a sudden
Yeah,
disappeared.
right.
And they
Gaddafi
said,
became a good boy for a
and
long
he became
time.
a good boy.
Right.
His house disappeared, and they said a Navy jet went off course. Navy jet didn't go off course. That was a message. I bet you one of those little missiles that they said that didn't land anywhere came close to Assad.
By the way,
And you
Gaddafi
won't know
was
about it.
not a good
You won't-
boy
you
during
won't-
that period. He became a good boy.
After they bombed his house.
Yeah,
No.
And
of course
absolutely,
he did. Absolutely. And how about
100%.
today?
And the same-
Mattis sent a pretty strong message today. They dropped a Moab on ISIS in
on
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Did you read that?
They dropped it. I don't know if it was ISIS or not.
It was
That's
ISIS.
what
Was it
they
ISIS?
And
ISIS.
So ISIS
Okay.
There's
had
a campaign promise. He said he was going to bomb the
Okay.
Cucker out of them.
But
Okay.
By the way, again, it's a question of effect. I hope that it was effective, but these caves are pretty damn
But
deep.
you
Well, let me
know.
tell you what.
Yeah.
Do you know what a Moab is?
Yeah.
It's the largest single non-nuclear weapon in the
Right.
American arsenal.
22,000
22,000 pounds.
But
Moab, mother of all
what-
bombs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that the area where they dropped that bomb is
Training area.
uncharted territory.
Right.
It's a kind of open territory.
But they said it was a training area.
Yeah,
of-
but
for
that's
that,
well, that's
for
what
that.
they say.
That's what intelligence
Well,
says. So
but-
hopefully they got it
okay.
right.
But I'm hoping that they got it right.
Right.
Do
If
you
they
think
got
the
it right.
American military is just dropping this bomb to shoot fireworks off? I
No,
don't
because
think so.
what happens is in fact, is a lot of times they did drop bombs like that, and
Just to test them out.
No, they've never dropped this bomb.
No,
They've never
in
dropped
war,
this
first
bomb
time.
in
war.
battle.
They did
Right,
drop
not in
a
battle.
similar one in
Vietnam, was it
Vietnam.
called
no,
a daisy cutter?
No, before that.
Daisy
Then
cutter.
After that, it has been dropped in
Well,
Iraq.
there was a fuel cell bomb. I
This
don't
is
know.
it.
Oh,
Fuel
okay.
gas bomb. Yeah.
This is a huge bomb.
It's a big
Well,
bomb.
it's not even the weight of it. It's they spray all
The
this
capacity.
Dispersion
fuel
of gas.
oil up, and then they blow that
Blow it
up.
Right.
Because it's supposed to be
but
bunker
if-
buster.
Well,
Well, it's
the
ground
effect
buster.
is
Yeah, right.
supposedly, and if you don't drop it on something either that's got a relatively low, relatively high up in the mountain, or hit it
Well,
directly on
none
the
of us
thing,
are
it's not
ballistic
gonna
jet
work.
sprays, so let's not beat that until like a dead horse. They dropped the thing on the
Okay.
bad guys.
Right.
They
Okay,
dropped-
never been
yeah.
done before.
They tried other things. They tried this. We'll see if it's effective.
Is it a
Yes,
message
is
or not?
great.
Is it a message? Is it a decisive message to ISIS?
What
If
is-
you're standing
what does
around
the
and
word
this thing goes
decisive
off,
mean?
he did something
Oh,
decisively.
Okay.
Well, there
Obama
was a-
did stuff too.
What?
That wasn't
Well,
decisive.
dropped that.
what?
No, no,
They
but
did drop that.
They,
Okay,
well,
okay.
you have to
He
get,
deported a whole bunch of criminals.
he
that
also-
wasn't decisive, according
He,
to you.
no, he got Osama bin Laden killed. That was decisive.
Was
Yeah, that
okay?
was decisive.
Good. It's the first
Yeah.
time I've heard you say anything close to that.
No, I said that
I have to
previously.
point it out.
Thank you.
You got it done.
You got it
Absolutely.
done. I mean, that was something.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the way they did it, so that no trace was left. That was very
Yeah.
important, actually. Otherwise, he would have become a shrine.
Well, it violated Islamic law, which I think too was a message.
What do you mean violated Islamic law? They did everything perfect.
Yeah, they buried him at sea.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's okay. That's
Islam does not, if you're an Islamic sailor, they don't require you to
Really?
be shipped.
okay.
They have to do something
That's
with the
okay.
bond.
As long as-
All right, they did follow the.
Do it clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is a nice thing to do. It
Yeah.
probably wasn't
a great thing to do.
essential,
Yeah.
but it's
a great
it's a
person.
good way to do it.
Well, let's see if he gets. Let's see if Trump gets Baghdadi.
Well, that would be some. I thought he was already injured.
Well, supposedly he's injured, but he's been giving messages supposedly to the ISIS followers, the Caliphate followers, that
Okay.
die in place, or
Well, what
they've
is
been sneaking
sad?
out like
What
women,
is
I
sad
guess.
about this ISIS thing is that you have native-born white folks. I have to say this: white folk who fall for this and run amok.
Well, it's not just, it's any.
Islam is not a race.
Yeah,
Islam
but
is
no,
a
but what I'm
variety of
saying-
races,
what I'm
including
saying
white
is
folk.
who convert while they are born here as U.S. citizens
Right,
or
but
European
that's- but
citizens,
that's
and
the
that
case.
is what is sad about that. That how can, and well, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say that a lot of terrorists are not uneducated. They are highly educated people, and they are the people who cause most damage.
Including American rightists and leftists who've
I-
been radicalized. So Islam is not the only one
Okay.
who's
Yes, but-
Keep in
managed
mind
that.
that a lot of these people are idealists. In the 1930s, Americans, fairly large numbers, went to Spain to fight the Nazis.
Oh, okay.
So-
Fascists, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
fascists.
this was
Including the great writer.
yeah. Well, I think he
Hemingway
went for that
went-
purpose.
Hemingway
I don't remember
wrote, yeah.
why he went.
Yeah,
he
he
was
went.
there. So
He was an ambulance. He was
was
working
an
with
ambulance driver.
Ambulance driver.
yeah. People can see things in a different way than other people, and if you see wrongs being done, and by the way, we're doing wrongs every day, as is everybody else. If they see wrongs being done,
You perceive wrongs differently.
Perceive.
Everyone perceives wrongs differently. Like
Well,
some people
understood.
perceive the attack on Syria
yeah,
as something wrong.
Yeah.
Someone perceived that dropping a bomb today something wrong.
right.
In our eyes, my eyes, I think it's good.
Okay.
Other people
Yeah.
see that and they think it's a wrong. I'm going to go and do something about that in an unnatural way.
Yeah, but
Right.
you
What do you
cross
mean
the line
unnatural?
when
They're
you
They're gonna-
choose
they're going to go into they're going to walk down in the
The subway
Prudential Center,
station, yeah,
or-
right.
and hack somebody to pieces.
Okay, but
That's
that guy's a
that's
little
wrong.
different. That
No,
guy's
no,
a little.
no,
that
that's
guy-
what these guys are.
That's what we're talking about right here.
no,
I mean,
Somebody
that's the
who's-
ideology. That's
Yeah,
one.
that's
That's
the
the
ideology.
ideology.
That's
That's what
I
that's what
cannot
they're getting
when
into.
I go and decide that I'm going to walk down the street and chop you up until somebody shoots me dead.
In the name of ISIS.
No, I'm going down. I'm making my death meaningful. That's what
Yeah, but
those
that-
people
no,
are
but
doing.
that's-
They're,
it's the
they're
same-
people
no.
who, if they didn't do that, would do something else, or maybe hop off a building.
But the
They
fact,
won't hop off a
but the-
building.
Yeah,
but-
they
but-
would.
No,
They
but
won't.
the fact, unfortunately,
They
the
wish they would
fact
hop off
still
a building.
remains. Unfortunately, the fact still remains that in that name of that religion, they are going out and killing people.
Right.
That is what I think is the major issue the Middle East has to somehow come out of.
Right.
And by pitting Saudi Arabia against Iran, nobody is getting help.
But just how you define it with the two
yeah, I mean
that
that's
don't agree, no matter
The
what
creation
happens,
of
you're not gonna
martyrdom
do it.
through the murder of innocents is a twisted theocratic logic.
yes, it
twisted.
It
I
may be
agree,
twisted.
but it is
It's
not
evil.
It is not Islam. It's a twisted interpretation of a variety of religions.
Well, jihad, that's what jihad is.
No, jihad is
jihad
fighting
actually two
for the
different
religion.
things.
It is not going out and killing innocent people.
But no, they're calling for it on a daily basis. Go watch Memory. You can see any number of different imams across the world in different races, all calling for the same thing.
I mean, there is a Canadian imam
by the
actually.
He
way,
just
they're-
got deported
Yeah, you got deported.
from Canada. Yeah, that
The
guy.
guy who was saying kill all Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
No,
did
I
you?
didn't.
You have to listen to him.
There are
We are on the same
pastors
wavelength, looks
in
like.
the South. I happen to know in the South. I'm sure they're elsewhere as well, who call for the elimination of Muslims. It is not Islam that's the problem.
When you say
it
the
is the
wait a minute.
radicals that
When
is
you
the
say the
problem.
elimination of Muslims, what are you talking about? Elimination of Muslim immigration? You're talking elimination is a word used
Yeah.
no. There's no American pastors
Yeah.
calling for the murder of Muslims in the United States.
By the way, the guy who went in Charleston, South Carolina, who went in and killed all the African Americans who were praying and felt bad that he was going to do this because they're nice people, but his ideology said these people have to be eliminated.
No.
Yes.
That ideology.
Devil-
he was a
Devil
lone
told him.
wolf.
Devil
Rudder,
told him.
rubber,
He was a
something like that.
he
Devil
was
told him.
he was mentally ill. He was a
Yes,
lone
you
wolf.
got it. And a lot of these other people are
No, they're not.
mentally ill.
No,
No,
this
no,
is
a lot
not
of these other
mental
people,
illness.
like we're saying, they're well
Stop
educated.
it. Stop
I
it.
mean,
This is
they-
not
It's
they
mental
are-
amazing.
illness.
You
They
can
are-
get a college degree and still be a psychotic.
Not saying
Well,
that.
that is
So
not- that
20
is
people,
true. That
20,
is
19 Saudi Arabians who flew those planes into the towers, they shared a psychosis?
wait,
Is
stop.
that what you're telling me?
No, stop right there. Now, why is Saudi Arabia not on that list?
Exactly. Well, they are in the.
No, they're
No,
not.
they're
No,
not.
they're not.
But why not?
No, yeah, they should be.
Why
Absolutely.
is Egypt not on that list?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, that's
I'll
what
tell
I
you
wonder.
why.
Why not?
Officially, the Saudi state did not have anything to do with that. Some of the citizens contributed a lot of money.
Osama bin Laden is from.
Yeah,
Saudi
well, he
Arabia.
was a citizen. His family disowned him.
Well,
but
Well, the
he's-
Saudis donated $25 million to the Clinton Foundation. That was helpful.
No, but so it
Trump
is
doesn't
very
have
good
that kind of
with-
money. He only gave 100,000.
Well, you have
Trump
to
has his own money.
Well, you have to deal with Osama bin Laden during Bush regime. I mean, that's a different thing. Clinton came later. So I don't know
Yeah,
Yeah,
where
but that's the
Bush
reason
one
why
you're
there's been
talking
no
about.
immigration.
Bush 2 and Bush 1 both. Actually.
Well, Bush won, and then
Bush won,
Clinton,
Bush two.
yeah.
Right.
Under Bush
Supposedly-
1, the Saudis were on the good side.
Yeah.
They were fighting Saddam. So that was okay. You could do anything you wanted. And Bush 2 was a little questionable.
You have to look at long term. I hope U.S. policymakers with Trump's push are going to take a long term view about Middle East policies.
Answer my question. You're in the brain business,
Yes.
and he posited
Yes.
that these guys had a psychosis. So you're telling me, is it possible that those 20 guys shared the same psychosis?
No.
Okay, all right.
Have
Thank
you ever heard of Jonestown?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Did they?
Yeah, but that
Yeah, they
that-
drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, but they
Yeah,
shared
did they
the
know there was
psychosis.
poison in it?
But they
They-
shared.
but-
They
but
didn't share the psychosis.
Yes,
Stop
they
it.
did.
No,
They
they
knew what
didn't.
they were
There
doing.
was-
No, they
No.
didn't.
Yes, they
There
did.
was-
Because
They
they
did
would
not.
fed the thing to their kids.
Yes, but what is interesting is there was one psychotic person who had the ability, just like Hitler.
Right.
He had the ability to convince
and transform them to think the same
them.
way.
And that's a possibility. That's not, doesn't
Well,
Many
this
of
is
them
what
were
we're
force-
talking about.
force
If I
fed as
said they
well.
all have the same psychosis, as opposed to they were convinced by some.
I mean, look,
They were
psychiatrist,
all
maybe
in one
not even
location.
psychiatrist.
Look,
Don't
they
have to
were
be a
all
psychiatrist.
isolated, all in one location. Don't make that parallel to 30 different countries that have
You
experienced
know how they
Islamic
got there?
terrorism.
Because they left San
It
Francisco.
doesn't
when
matter.
things
The
were,
event happened there.
Oh,
These
okay.
events are happening across
the fact
30
that
countries.
all these people left their homes in San Francisco to go there so they could be isolated and not persecuted sounds like the
Well,
Pilgrims.
the
to me.
Amish
And-
did it.
Yeah, they
The
were very
Mormons
close.
did it.
Huh?
I mean, the Amish have done it. The
Yeah,
Mormons have
what?
done it.
Okay.
Well, they've isolated themselves in one
Right,
particular
and that's
place.
Jonestown.
But
But
they're
they
not-
left.
But they're not blowing people up, and
but
they're
they're
not
not
taking
killing
poison.
people.
Right, they're not-
Exactly.
that's the point. They're not killing
Exactly.
Well, Jonestown, they would have maybe.
Well,
the moment
Jonestown,
things
they were-
started to fall apart, Jones said, "We got to die," and he started giving the Kool-Aid. And
Give
then
it up,
soon-
Bob. Give it up.
But
Your
at the
parallel
same-
doesn't hold
It
water.
holds exactly.
It does not.
There's a psychosis.
No.
one person, but you have to look at Hitler.
Yeah.
Hitler had the you have to give
Hitler
the,
was
give-
a speech maker for a
yeah,
large
he,
part.
he
Yeah,
had
that's
the,
all he was.
I mean,
No,
he
it's the
had
same- it's the
he
same
had
thing.
the ability. See, you have to
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Right.
Although
Right.
an evil person, you have the ability of convincing people that whatever the fellow says is right.
Is right.
And unfortunately, people fall for this,
Yeah,
and
but
that's
there's a
where the
number of
danger
different
is.
factors that play into that, and certainly the Treaty of Versailles. All the Germans felt that they were abused.
Yes, but you
during
have the
treaty.
ability to convince people.
Yeah. Secondly, they were in terrible economic straits. And thirdly, he came to power through the use of violence and intimidation. The brown shirts,
No,
they
by
beat
the way-
you
no, they came.
Actually,
came by
he was
fi-
voted
vote,
into
he was
power
voted in.
and-
as the chancellor. Yes,
And
Yeah.
he
was
created,
not by
he
popular
created
vote.
He
not
was
such a
voted in.
boogeyman. There were two groups vying for power who were going to fix everything: the Nazis and the communists.
Yes.
And the wealthy basically said, "We can control Hitler. We can't control the communists." So they supported Hitler, gave him enough money. He was voted in, and then he was voted to be the
Chancellor by the-
Führer. Voted. Everything he did was legal.
It was a multi-party
Legal.
system. He did not win a majority of the votes of the Germans
He
at that time.
But he was elected.
he was elected.
was
and
elected.
he was, and then after he was elected,
He was chosen.
then picked to be the leader to could
By a small
rule
group
by
of people.
fiat. And so my point is, what Hitler did from beginning to end was legal and democratic. And if you don't recognize that,
He
then you
came
don't
to
recognize-
power. He came to the pinnacle of power in the party as a result of the use of violence and intimidation.
But within his party. But
By
he was-
his party,
by his-
to the other parties.
But he was elected. But what he did later is what he did while rising up the ranks is he had the ability of gift of gab.
He did.
Right.
I mean that is you have to.
I recognize that. I'm trying desperately to do this here.
Oh, okay. I'll keep quiet.
Not the same.
But you
But
have
in
to-
any event,
you have
let's
to-
go back to Trump.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. You want to vilify him? Let's try. Go ahead.
Actually, I'm not trying to vilify him. To a large degree, I see that what he came to power representing, he is beginning to, a little bit, not a great
Yeah.
deal, but a little bit, to go back against.
Yeah.
And
That's transformation.
that's
Right.
yeah, and it can be good. I'm a little more afraid that at some point, when Ryan has gotten everything he wants, that he's going to get rid of Trump and we're going to get Pence, which scares me
Will
even
you
more.
stop the? Come on, you've been reading
Pence
the
is a
Huffington
believer.
Post and Salon and all the
No,
rest
no.
of these leftist rags.
Pence is a believer. Trump really doesn't believe a great deal.
So you think that Trump is going to be impeached? You've
I-
been reading
yeah, he
Maxine
could.
Waters, apparently.
Why are
No.
we,
On
why-
what grounds?
Why are we going to impeach him?
Yes,
at the
exactly.
moment?
On what grounds? Should
well,
it even be discussed?
He's daily. He's violating the point in the Constitution which says he cannot benefit from people in other countries, and yet
What
his-
nonsense are you
his
talking?
co-
The
his
emolument
company-
clause?
his
Come on.
company- yes.
I think that
Yeah,
is-
that is, it's specifically in the
It's
Constitution.
a blind trust. If he puts
It's
his stuff
not a
in
blind trust.
trust.
Even he doesn't say it's a blind trust. And that's the problem.
That
You cannot get somebody who's actively involved in his own business running the country because there's an inherent conflict of interest.
Bob, you're grasping for straws.
No, it's-
just like the rest of the leftists. The Russian, you saw the latest one.
What?
Well, the MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell, Rachel Maddow, what's her name? Rachel Maddow.
Yeah.
That Trump has conspired with Putin to launch the chemical attack against the Syrians.
I heard that.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's what
And
Putin
actually,
says.
well,
But I can see
Putin
the
said-
logic, but I
Assad
don't
said-
believe
Assad
it.
said the same
Assad
thing.
said
No,
that.
Assad said there wasn't a chemical
No,
attack.
no,
Assad
no.
said it
No,
was.
No,
Assad
no.
said if it did happen, it wasn't him. It was either the Americans or somebody else who did it.
Yeah, that's what he
He's
said.
not confirming anything happened. But if
Well,
something did
what I-
happen,
what I
it
heard him
wasn't
say
it
was
some
it
other
didn't
government.
happen.
Well, for him, it didn't happen.
Oh,
But
okay.
He said he didn't
Yeah.
do it.
All
If
right.
it did happen,
By the way, it's
Then it wasn't
conceivable
him.
that he didn't do it and that some of his commanders did it, and he.
and they didn't
He's
tell
paying
him.
the price.
Yeah,
They
it's
can
possible.
I mean,
Possible, but doubtful.
they can always say that.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to see now what he's doing is he's taking barrel bombs and dropping on people.
Well, he was doing that,
been
but
doing
that's
that
legal.
before.
That's
He has been
legal.
doing that.
That's no red line. And
Here's
Trump
the
doesn't
question I
care
want to
either.
ask you, Bob.
Yeah, sure.
What do you think about the press's performance up to this point? Now, let me give you a little background, okay?
All right.
And I told you this a year ago he was going to be elected, but you, much like the press, you poo-pooed the idea.
He had some help.
They ridiculed him. Oh, he had some help. Yeah, the
Yeah.
American people helped him.
No,
300 electoral
You know
votes.
actually who helped him? The press.
Hillary helped him.
No, the press.
or
The press,
yeah,
by
made him.
denigrating him.
Yeah,
on the
but that's-
Constitution.
But no, but he
that
had
is
help.
because
I-
nobody believes the press.
No, because
About 2 weeks before the election, when they came out with the
Comey stuff.
Comey came out with
Well, with his emails that were going back and forth, those
no,
things?
the email, the thing about the email. I can't remember his
the
name.
DNC
the
emails?
DNC
No,
emails?
the guy who was the congressman.
Oh, the
from
one
New
from New
York.
York. His wife.
Yeah, well,
Weiner,
his-
Anthony
right,
Weiner, yeah.
Weiner.
Weiner's
And Weiner's
when they
wife who
when they looked at his server and they said,
Right.
"Oh, there's some emails that might have something to do with it," and when that came out, the polls, which had Trump dropping like a stone, suddenly went up, and that's really where it happened.
Bob.
All the
doesn't
rest
matter.
of it,
Bob,
had been done.
it was written
Yeah.
before that.
Did
It
you
doesn't
watch
matter.
election night?
That-
Did you
Yes,
watch
I
every
was-
station? Did you see the polls? All the polls had Hillary. Every single poll had Hillary winning. The
Hill-
New York Times.
If you had been watching Trump's, it was going up and up, and it was down
was
to
still- he
about
was still-
1%.
He was still
Bob,
way
she
behind.
was
the
ahead.
New York Times
Yeah.
Way
had
behind.
Hillary Clinton winning the election on the day of the election,
Mm-hmm.
before the polls opened, 95% chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
95% chance. By 9
Well,
o'clock,
well,
the
you-
paper of record, supposedly, the old gray lady. How could the entire United States media conglomerate have been so desperately wrong?
Well,
on this subject?
Number one, the
I-
polls weren't as wrong as it maintained because, in fact, Trump had been going up like crazy. And number two, she won by 3 million votes.
Take California out of the equation,
but-
and she didn't.
No,
Take
but-
Texas out of the
Massachusetts.
equation, and she still won.
You
Well,
have
California,
again,
Massachusetts out of the equation.
Democrats beating the drum of the popular vote. Clinton never got more than 42% of the vote, never won the popular vote. Neither time he was elected.
Actually, the second time he did.
He did like hell. Perot got 15%
That
of the
was
vote.
the first
and he
time.
got 13% the second time. Please,
got
don't talk to
13%?
me about the popular vote.
Who was the third party in the
H. Ross
second one?
Perot. He ran both times.
He didn't get 13% the second time.
I'm pretty
got
sure he
two-
did, but you could correct me if
didn't-
I'm wrong.
I
But
don't know.
let's
Okay.
not have the lefties talking about the total popular vote, okay? Because it didn't happen. Didn't
but-
happen.
no,
for
no,
Well, it
Clinton.
didn't happen. There are 3 million people.
No, but
So
no,
what?
yeah, no,
In history, it didn't. For other presidents, it didn't happen.
The
yeah, it did.
popular
The only
vote
reason-
is irrelevant.
It didn't happen.
No, I
We
electoral
agree.
do not
vote-
have a
in our
nation.
system,
Right, in our system,
that-
electoral
but
vote is
if
what
you
elects
look
the
at
first-
the
the president.
the polls, unfortunately, weren't being very careful about where the states were. But in fact, the polls were correct. When they looked at the nation, Hillary was winning, and she won the popular vote.
They were
doesn't
predicting
matter.
an
They were predicting a landslide.
electoral landslide.
Not in the
She was
last
going to
week.
get 300
Not
votes.
in the
yes,
last
they
week.
were.
No,
Bob,
they
please.
weren't.
Absolutely.
There was one poll that predicted the Gateway Pundit had one poll that predicted that Trump would win in
Yes,
a
I
landslide.
agree.
Now,
No,
okay, let's.
and he didn't win in a
He
landslide.
did. He
won.
won three. He got 300 electoral votes, Bob. Come on, it was a landslide
Yeah,
electorally.
Electorally, yes, but not popular.
Well,
So
but
you
the
have-
doesn't
popular
matter.
doesn't
Popular
mean.
doesn't matter.
that doesn't
Popular
mean,
means
but,
nothing.
But you have to give him credit, give Bob credit about the popular.
Well,
piece.
we all know that, but
That's
we
it.
all know that it's
Everybody but
irrelevant.
Trump knows that.
It doesn't matter.
But one thing again, I really think that how Trump has again changed in the sense that earlier he used to say WikiLeaks is, I love WikiLeaks. Now suddenly WikiLeaks is really a subversive intelligence agency.
So
I love this. How the presidency changes you.
Can I
Well,
ask you a question?
Yeah.
Have I been so quiet during all these other old farts because Bob? Because,
Yeah,
Phil's
because
stuff?
you.
Yeah.
Right, I've been very quiet because
you
I
have.
have my
You have
man here
somebody
Yeah,
to your right.
representing me. Usually I'm like a rose with 3 thorns around me.
Are we
Right?
done?
No, we're not done. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey, how
Get
are
out
you?
of here.
No.
See ya.
So, but
Okay, go on.
So wait a minute. Let me
Yeah.
just conclude now.
Yeah.
The press hates them. Instead of having some self-evaluation of their performance prior to the election and how wrong they were and how could they have so misread Middle America, instead now they want to go after this guy in every single thing like, he's the wrong one, that they haven't been wrong. Okay? But this is the problem with the coastal elites. Okay? This is the problem with California, New York, Massachusetts. We can afford to be liberal. We can afford to be liberal because economically we have the 5 pillars of the Massachusetts economy: academia, medicine, finance, tourism, and financial.
and
okay?
the ocean.
And the
And the
ocean.
ocean.
Well, that's
okay?
tourism. Yeah.
We're so out of touch with the rest of the country because we don't have any pipeline workers. We don't have any oil refineries. We don't have any miners. Okay? We don't care about mineral rights, grazing rights, water rights. We don't care about any of those things. We don't care about manufacturing. What the hell do we care about those people?
Right.
That's why we are so far out of the mainstream with the flyover states, because all of those things mean something to them and they don't mean a damn to us.
But that is where Trump got it right, because he got that piece which touched the real America. Real America meaning the America which mattered.
The red
Well,
states.
the red states, but
Red
it's also
states.
all of America because some people
Yes.
think that same way.
Yes,
But-
of
but
course,
you're
of
but
course.
you can't get past the liberal.
Well, we're the largest unrepresented minority in the state.
We are.
Everybody, transgender people, all the minorities get represented.
We
but
don't.
The Republicans, we don't get represented.
By the way,
Except
have you
for our
ever
governor.
Represented.
Except for our
ever
governor.
been out to Pittsfield
Except for our governor.
or Springfield?
you have governor is
You're
there.
The
represented.
governor's and do you know he just got voted the most popular governor?
No, I didn't know that.
Most popular governor out of all governors in the country. He was number 1.
But the Democrats are going to continue to be losers because they're identity politics, social justice warriors, okay? And they've got the same old deadwood leading the
Right.
party.
And it's wearing off.
But
It's
that
wearing
is the
off
problem,
fast.
actually. I don't think it is social justice the problem. It is the deadwood leading the party.
Identity politics is the problem.
Part of your problem is that in general, not always, but in general, the Democrats try to talk reality. They don't go
What
to
reality?
manufacturing states and say, I'm going to bring back all these jobs
what
from China
reality? What
that
reality?
don't
What
exist
reality?
in China anymore.
What
The
give me
reality
the
of whether
reality.
we're going to go back to the way things were in the 1950s in terms of manufacturing. The real
No,
reason
there's
why
different
we
reality to
don't
that.
have manufacturing jobs in this country, we have more output than we ever did before. We don't have the workers because of automation. And that automation ain't going away. And when a job goes down to Mexico and it comes back maybe a tiny little bit of it because the rest of it is automation. When it goes
Some
to
of it,
China,
some of it
China's
is
in deep
automation.
trouble right now because the manufacturing that is building up in China that allows people to come in from the farms. Those people are getting laid off because even China is
All right,
doing
I'll give you
automation.
that.
Bob does have a point in that.
I'll give you that
is-
point.
That is what we have to deal with.